Hi, can you hear
Hi,
me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I am so sorry about all the confusion.
Oh, that's okay. I've never had that happen to me before, so I don't know what that was about. It
Yeah.
was weird.
So, are you able to send me the recording or am I able to get the recording from here?
I can send it to you. It's fine.
Okay. Sorry, let me try to change. My son used to use this as well. So let me see if I can change my name. Okay, there we go. Okay. All righty. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as
Uh,
well.
okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what is your full birth name?
Birth name is Angela Marie Costa.
Angela Marie Costa. And how do you say your last Simos?
Simões. I always say Simões rhymes with toes.
Got it. Simos rhymes with toes. I like that. Okay. And were you named after anyone? Is there a story behind your name?
I wasn't named after anyone, but back in that day, they weren't able to tell. I don't think they had ultrasounds, so they couldn't really tell the sex of the child for sure. But the doctor had told my mom that I was going to be a boy, and she had picked out the name Nicholas, and my dad was like, it's going to be a girl and we're going to name her Angela. So the whole pregnancy, my mom was like, it's going to be Nicholas. And my dad was like, it's going to be Angela. And he was right. So there you go.
Wow. Oh, that is awesome. I like that story. I love it. When were you born?
July 12th, 1976.
Awesome. All righty. And where were you born?
In Sacramento, California.
Sacramento. Awesome. So what early memories do you have of as a child in the Portuguese American community or in Portugal?
Yeah, so I was born here. I'm third generation American born. So, I mean, we were going to festas before I could walk. And so being Portuguese has been part of my life, my entire life. I remember going to the festas, being on a float, walking in the parades. I was a side maid when I think I was 4. So very early on. And I think most of my spring weekends for the first 17 years of my life were marching in parades.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was side maid 4 times, queen twice. And if we weren't one of those, we were carrying a flag. We were Miss America, Miss Portugal, Miss Sacramento, with the sash. We were carrying a rosary. We were always in the parades some way, somehow. And then, my family always had, I would say, Portuguese desserts mostly. There wasn't a lot of like full-on meals that were Portuguese growing up, except maybe like linguiça and eggs in the morning.
Okay.
But sweet rice and flage and sweet bread, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff always.
Oh, wow. I love Portuguese sweetbread. I look forward to the festas here in Visalia for that reason.
Well, and Easter's coming up, so it should be flowing out of Portuguese houses this weekend.
It'll be everywhere. When did your family immigrate to the United States?
So on both my mom and my dad's side, my great grandparents came over around like 1910, 1911.
Okay.
And they came in different ways. Like on my mom's side, they came, how was it? I think my grandmother told me that my great grandfather came by himself, and he had to come 3 different times because in those days you needed a sponsor, like somebody that was going to say, I'll give this person a place to live and a job, sign their sponsor. You didn't need a company, you just needed a person. And usually that was, you know, an uncle or, you know, a relative or a friend. And my great grandfather didn't know anybody. So he would get here, no sponsor, they'd send him back. He'd get here,
Oh,
no sponsor,
wow.
they'd send him back. And so on the third trip, the captain of the boat that he was on, it was like the same boat. And the captain was like, it's your third trip. Like what's going on? Like, you really want to come? He's like, I really want to come, but there's no sponsor. So the captain sponsored him, apparently,
Oh, wow.
and said, yeah, like, you know, I'm going to refer you to a friend. And so he started out in Rhode Island, and then made his way west. I don't really know much other than that. And then on my dad's side, and that's just one great grandparent. I think, you know, once he came over, and he was already an adult at that time. And so when he finally got settled, he sent for my great grandmother and brought her over. And then on my dad's side, I know my one great grandfather in the Azores was being raised by his grandfather, who apparently was a really mean guy. And so I think it was like at the age of 11, he was a stowaway, and just was like, get me out of here. I want to get away from my grandfather.
Wow.
So he stowed away on a ship and just made his way west.
Wow. And made it. That is amazing.
At 11, right? At the age of 11.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right?
Like, I think about what I was doing at 11, and I would have never even considered. Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. When there's a
Yeah.
will, there's a way.
Right. I mean, I guess if your situation is bad enough, you're like, anything is better than this.
Right. So it seems like question 7 is very similar to question 6. So why did your family leave the Azores?
So only my dad's family is from the Azores. My mom's family is from the mainland.
Okay.
And I mean, as far as I know, you know, like I said, my great grandfather left because his grandfather was just so mean, and he just had no other where to go. So he said, you know, it's America or bust. And then I think on my mom's side, that family, they were one of 9 siblings, and one went to Brazil. One, I think they kind of started leaving to see if there was better life somewhere else. And of course, you know, you had heard of America. And so I think the intention was to go make a lot of money and then come back. And unfortunately, my great grandfather passed away when my grandmother was, I want to say 12.
Oh, wow.
And it was really unfortunate, because the way I understand it from the way my grandmother tells it is that, you know, he had come here, they had actually bought a ranch in Auburn, and they were doing that. And my great grandmother was just like, I really want to go back. I really want to go back. And so they had like bought tickets, and they were going to go back. And then he got hit with, I think it was appendicitis, and was in the hospital. And apparently it was like, okay, you're going to go home tomorrow, and you're going to go home, and we're going to go back to Portugal. And overnight, I don't know what happened, he got worse and he ended up passing away. So then they never went back. And he had a brother that also had come over and lived like across the street. So they had like ranches across the street from each other.
Yeah.
So my great grandmother ended up marrying her brother-in-law. And they stayed, and they never ever went back. So
wow.
Yeah.
Was there a sense of longing for your grandma? Like, was that always, did you ever feel like that was always in the back of her mind?
You know, I imagine it was. You know, I knew her, when I knew her, she was already in her 90s, right? And so she passed away this is my great grandmother. She passed away when I was like 11.
Okay.
And she didn't speak much English at all. So, us kids not knowing Portuguese, really, our communication with her was very limited. So I never got all these stories I heard from my grandmother, which is her daughter.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
So yeah, I mean, I imagine that she was very sad. And, at that time it was kind of a hard life. You lived on the ranch, you made everything
Yeah.
from scratch. You made your own soap, you made your own clothes, you made your own everything, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Wow. That's a good, thank you. That's
Mhm.
a wonderful story. Um, and so where did your family originally settle and why there when they came to the US?
So I know that so again, I don't know exactly know. So my grandmother's parents, he's the one that came over 3 times. And I think he ended up coming, somehow straight to the East Coast. But my grandfather's parents had family in Rhode Island already. So when they came over, they stayed in Rhode Island for, I think, a year. And then the winter was so harsh that they were like, no, we need sun. So again, they had heard about California and so took a train and headed west. On my dad's side, yeah, my one grandfather at age 11, I don't know how he found his way west, but I know on the other side, he had connections, people that were already in California farming. And so they went straight to the Stockton area,
Got it.
worked on a dairy,
Okay.
did that whole thing. Right. So.
Got it. All righty. Perfect. Did your parents, grandparents ever tell you what it was like to adjust to life in a new country? And what stories did they share with you or did they pass down regarding that, their earlier experiences?
So I think, yeah, both my parents shared stories of, they each grew up well, my dad grew up on a dairy for sure. So that's the side that was from the Azores, and they went straight to Stockton, and he grew up in a dairy. And so he would, tell me stories. They would have the matanzas, the pig killings and big celebrations. And, the life of a dairyman, getting up early and having to change the water and what all that's entailed. And I think the stories that you probably get this a lot, but people cry, but because my dad passed away 4 years ago, so, and my dad would get really emotional talking about his grandfather. But I remember he used to tell a story about how he helped his grandfather study for the citizenship test to become an American citizen. And like, when he did that, he was really proud and all that. So I think that's really special. And then on my mom's side, so my mom, I should actually ask her more details about this, but I know she was born in Richmond.
Okay.
And they lived in Rodeo for a few years. Now, I don't remember why or how they ended up in Rodeo, but she's actually even driven me by the house that they used to live in, because she has memories of it being this big white house, and just very clean and, beautiful. But my grandfather, or my great grandfather at the time, was really kind of an asshole and couldn't hold a job. So he would do like odd jobs here and there to earn money, but could never like hold down a job because he never got along with anybody. And then somehow, I'm trying to remember, I don't remember exactly, they moved to Sacramento.
Okay.
But they moved, I tried to remember, because they lived in Rodeo, but then I'm gonna have to ask my mom again because now I'm confused. Because they had the ranch in Auburn, right?
Okay.
And that's where my grandmother was born, and grew up there. But then they also lived in Rodeo for a time. And my mom, so that must have been after, but we still had the ranch. So I don't know. So somehow there was like dual Rodeo and then the ranch. But then actually, I think I know what it was. My grandfather's parents lived in Rodeo, and my grandmother's parents were in Auburn. Yes, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
And so once my grandmother and her sister met my grandfather and his brother through friends, and it was one of those things like now it's all coming back to me. Because they had a ranch and the Portuguese Community Network, and they had 2 young daughters who they were going to have to marry off at some point, right? Oh, you should come and go hunting with me. Bring your boys and we'll go hunting up at the Morais Ranch. They've got 2 daughters, and we'll go do a matchmaking thing. So my grandfather and his brother went with his dad up to Auburn to go hunting, and that's how they met. So the 2 brothers married the 2 sisters, right?
Oh, that is awesome.
And so that's how that happened. But I think my great grandfather and great grandmothers kept their house in Rodeo, right?
Okay.
So they got married, and had my mom, and then there were 2 other. So my mom has 1 sister, and then my great aunt and uncle had 1 daughter. So they all were kind of living up there. And then I think at some point, because my grandfather was such a jerk and they couldn't maintain the house, my great grandparents, at that point, my grandmother and grandfather said, we don't want to live in Auburn anymore. We're going to buy a house in Sacramento. So they moved to Sacramento. And my grandfather said, hey, mom and dad, if why don't you move from Rodeo, come to Sacramento to be with us? So then that's how that happened. So I think that's how they ended up in Sacramento.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had the ranch in the family up until about 20 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the family sold it.
And I have to ask, was it common for like brothers to like marry sisters, like back in the back then, or?
I don't know that it was common. I think it was certainly convenient, right? Like if the ages worked out well,
sure.
Like if the ages worked out well, and you've got 3 single boys and there's 3 single girls, I mean, I guess it would work out well, but I don't know that I've never heard of it as a thing, so
it's a common thing. Got it. Okay. So as a 3rd generation American, was it important to your parents that they raised you with a strong Portuguese identity?
I think if you ask them, well, just my mom now, she would say yes. But it wasn't one of those things where it was like, I grew up and there was like Portuguese pride signs everywhere, right? It was just who we were, right?
Got it.
Going to the festas was what we did. Eating Portuguese food is what we did. It's like, and I think they enjoyed it. I think it made them feel connected to something. I wish they would have passed on the language to us a little bit better or more. But it is what it is. But I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, growing up, like I said, I was side maid and queen so many times, and it was always like the same group of girls, because I had 3 cousins and another friend. So that made 5 of us. And it literally was like always us. Like, okay, it's your turn to be queen. We're all going to be your side maids. Your turn to be queen. We're all going to be your side maids. My turn to be queen. We're all going to be side maids. So it was like literally the 5 of us just kind of rotated queen. We just rotated positions. Right. And we would like, so we were from Sacramento, if we were going to Manteca or Gustine or Monterey or wherever we were going, we'd stay the whole weekend. So it was like these little vacations that we would take on the weekends. You know, we'd leave on a Friday, get there, spend the night in the hotel. There was a dinner and a dance on a Saturday. So we'd go to the hall and have fun there. And then Sunday was the parade, and we go home Sunday afternoon after the parade. So it was like all these like little mini vacations on the weekends all the time, which was fun. So yeah,
no, for sure. You got to hang out with your cousins, with friends.
Yeah,
no, for sure.
And you're wearing crowns, and you know, people are clapping as you walk by. I mean, who doesn't want to be revered every weekend, you know?
Right. And that's actually your answers, kind of answers question 11 as well. It was just, how was this identity expressed through language, foods, traditions, and festivals? And you kind of shared that, how it was, you know, shared through the festas, through being a side maid and queen. Was there anything else that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, so my early years were definitely the festas, right? And we even took dance lessons to learn the shamrita. I don't know if you're familiar with the circle dance, the shamrita circle dance that they do at the festas. It's not like you have to be certified or anything like that. It's like one of those things where, the shamrita's on, so everybody on the dance floor makes a circle and we do the shamrita. But there are specific calls, and if you don't speak Portuguese or understand what they're saying, then you're going to be totally lost. So the hall in Sacramento actually gave lessons to kids so that we would understand the calls, and now we can do the shamrita, right? And then when we were, I want to say we were like 13, somewhere around 12, 13, there's another organization called Luso-American Fraternal Federation. And my parents had been involved in that when they were younger. And then my grandparents stayed involved, my parents, not so much. But then they all of a sudden decided, you know what, we should get the kids involved, because they have a youth program every year. And it's a summer thing where different youth councils perform. So they were like, you're going to dance this year. And okay. And so then we started dancing, you know, and we started learning. And then I will say that was probably my first real introduction to the language in terms of a structured learning. Like I knew a couple of words here and there, but then I actually sang. So I had to learn the lyrics and then had to like actually understand what I was saying. So there was a mom in the group that helped me with the pronunciation and actually know what I was saying and that sort of thing. So I learned a little bit like that. And then, you know, we learned some of the different steps, you know, different types of dances. So that was fun. And we did that until I was 18. And then after that, and then after that, I took a little bit of a break in college, and then I got involved as a young adult. So I don't know at what point with other stuff.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Aww. I love that you've like carried that on into your adulthood. That is awesome.
Yeah. Some might say too much.
No, that's that. I love that. That actually kind of leads into question 12. What cultural traditions have you maintained, and why is it important to you that you maintain them?
So I feel like in high school is when I really kind of realized, looking back, I don't know if I realized it at the time, but looking back, I realized that being Portuguese and going to the festas and having that community really shaped who I was and gave me a place that I felt comfortable. Because, you know, in high school, so I went to an all-girls Catholic high school in Sacramento. It was cliquey. There were mean girls, you know, you go to the dances, and if you weren't like part of the popular crowd, boys really didn't ask you to dance, and you were, you know, it was just awkward. Right. But at the Portuguese hall, it was not like that. You know, you could have guys as friends and you could dance with them, you know, like partner dance. And then, you know, if you dance with them, it didn't mean that you were going to get with them. It just meant you went for a dance. Right. And so it was so much more friendly and welcoming and open, and you could like be who you were. And so I felt so much more at home at the as the halls and the festas and with that group. And so much so that I actually skipped homecoming like the last 2 years of my high school, because I was like, I would rather go to a dance at the hall, even if it's like a steak and oyster dinner, than go to
Yeah.
homecoming, because I know I'm going to have a better time at the hall. Right.
Right. No, absolutely.
So it definitely, I just felt so much more connected, and I enjoyed the music. I liked the food. I mean, I didn't like everything, but I liked, the tromosas were fun because as kids, you spit them out, I don't know if you know what those are, the lupini beans. Do you know what those are?
Uh-uh.
So do you know what lupini beans look like?
No.
So they're little round yellow beans that have a skin on them. And the way you cook them, is you brine them, right? Essentially for like many days. And so they're very salty, and you bite the top off and then you pinch it and you squeeze the bean part into your mouth, and then you toss the shell, right?
Oh, okay.
Well, as kids, we would shoot the beans at people because you could shoot them and they'd go far, right? You're like shooting beans at people, and they're like, eat one and shoot one and eat one and shoot one, and so there was that kind of stuff, and then yeah, I mean, there's like so many great memories. Like they would, like at the annual picnic at the Sacramento Hall, you would go and buy a kebab. We called them a spit, right? A spit, which is it's a giant kebab, basically.
Ooh,
giant
okay.
wrought iron kebab. You'd buy one of those full of meat. You'd go barbecue it, and then your family brings potato salad and fruit salad and other, like lots of other things. But you all are sitting in this giant picnic area, and that family's got that table and that family's got that table. And so that was fun too, because, it's time for the picnic and we're going to go. And so there was lots of those kinds of things where, there was coming together of family, and it was just fun. And you saw other families. So you saw your other friends and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so in high school, I think I really identified like these are my people. And then, I went to college and I took a break from the community just because I went to college in San Francisco and there really wasn't a community there. And I was so focused on school and, that kind of thing. But then when I graduated, my first job was with a Portuguese organization out of Washington, D.C. And I had always wanted to go to Portugal, but I had never been. My parents, I think, had been once. And it was like, so my dad used to win trips because of sales awards. It's like, oh, you're the top salesperson, so you get to go to Germany or whatever, that kind of thing.
Wow.
So I think on one of their trips back from another place in Europe, they stopped for like 2 days in Portugal, right? And that was it. And that was the only time my parents had ever been. Okay. And so even though I had taken a break from the community, I still was very interested in going to Portugal and seeing what it was like. And, because I had grown up going to bullfights and festas and all this kind of stuff. And I really wanted to see, I was like, is that really what they do there? Like how close is it to like what we do here? How close is it to what they still do over there?
Yeah, for sure.
So I saved up, and my graduation gift to myself was 6 weeks in Portugal by myself. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And though I do have a cousin there. I haven't spoken to her in 20 years because of my trip. Actually, it was just kind of funny side story. She and her family had come to visit us when we were like 8. Right. And then ever since then, she and I would write letters. We kind of corresponded, but it was like once every year, like it was very kind of random. It's not like we were writing all the time. Yeah. But I wrote to her and I had said, hey, I'm coming, can we hang out? Can I stay with you for a little bit? She said, yeah, sure. So the plan was I was going to stay on my own at like a little hostel place for a couple of weeks. Then I'd go stay with them. That was horrible. Turns out she's such a bitch.
No.
She was really horrible. She like just would insult me to my face. And I just thought, I'm not going to spend the rest of I have 4 weeks left, right? Yeah. I'm not going to spend the rest of my time with this horrible person.
Yeah.
So I literally,
Wow.
so I had it all planned out. Cause so I was already friends and had already sort of started dating my now husband. He was my boyfriend at the time. And he speaks Portuguese fluently because his parents are from Lisbon. And so he had a
Okay.
much better command of the language and everything. And, at that time, the internet had just started. And
Okay.
so I found a web cafe in Lisbon, and I would go there at least once a day. And so he and I were exchanging emails, and I was kind of telling him about my issue. So my plan was, because her parents were really sweet. They were a little weird, but they were sweet. Um, and I was like, so my plan was to just like leave, like,
Yeah.
not even tell them I'm leaving. I'm just gonna leave, right? So but I didn't want to just leave and not explain to them why I was leaving, but they didn't read or speak English.
Right. Right.
So I wrote a letter, emailed the letter to my boyfriend and said, can you translate this into Portuguese? And then I hand wrote a letter in Portuguese to them that basically was like, listen, I'm really sorry. I don't know what I did to offend your daughter, but I can't stay here. Best wishes, whatever, right? Wrote
Yeah.
that letter in the middle of the night, slipped it under the door, and left their house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I couldn't take all of my luggage with me. So and in the letter, I said, I'll be back to collect the rest of my things. Right. Well,
Yeah.
she knew where I had stayed before, because she had come to pick me up there. And of course, I just went back there because it's the only place I knew. And showed up at like 2 a.m. I'm like, do you have a room? Yeah, sure. Stayed there. The next day, I can't remember if I called them or they called me. I think I called them because I wanted to say, hey, can I come get my stuff? And they're like, yeah. And very like, imagine if you didn't speak Portuguese and they didn't speak English. And I'm like in my broken Portuguese trying to communicate something.
Yeah.
Well, I went out for a tour that day. I came back and all my bags were in the lobby of the hotel. I walk in and they were like, there's your bags. So the daughter had come, dropped all my stuff and left. And I haven't talked to them since. So this was in 1998.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was like,
Wow.
it was just so horrible. Like, I don't even know if I saw her now, it would just be so awkward. Anyway, but the rest of my trip was amazing, right? It was the World Expo.
Yeah.
It was the World Expo. I felt so at home in Portugal. I never, like, my mom was like, aren't you scared? I'm like, no, like, not at all. I totally feel safe. I would walk anywhere by myself at night or during the day. Like, it didn't matter. I ended up
Yeah.
meeting up with some friends there that I had, people all from the East Coast that I knew. It was like, oh, you're going to the expo. And so, so that was a great trip. And that kind of like really solidified yes, I love being Portuguese and all these kinds of things. Right. So then I moved to Washington, D.C. to work for this Portuguese organization. And and then that just kind of led to me getting back involved in the community in lots of different ways. And only now am I kind of starting to take a step back because of a series of our own, trials and tribulations in life, and just needing to focus on family. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
I lived in DC for a year. The organization was great. I did not like DC. I wanted to come back to California. So I came back to California, got involved with the Portugal Day Festival here in San Jose. Frankly, led that, was chair of that festival for almost 10 years.
Wow.
Got involved in a few other organizations as like advisory council members or board members, just kind of like helping to, and then all the while still staying involved with this national organization that was DC based. So I joined their board of directors to represent California.
Wow.
My boyfriend and I got more serious. He and his sister had started a folklore group many years prior. I joined that folklore group, so I danced folklore for a while. And then, yeah, so let's see, fast forward. I'm still on the board for that organization. I was chair for 6 years. I just gave that up last year, or this year, I should say. Yeah, what else? I don't know. It's like, I've been so involved. Like, Denise, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So kind of like Denise, like he still does way more than I mean, he's doing a webinar on Facebook like every day. It's kind of crazy, but that kind of that level of involvement, just like it was who I will, like, it really became like, oh, Angela, yeah, she's Portuguese. Like it just became everything who I was. So.
Wow. So you have just helped out the community, not only like on a local, state level, but like on a national level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. Like, wow. So out of all those accomplishments, what are you most proud of? And what proud moments do you remember within your Portuguese American community?
So I would say the thing I'm most proud of is when I served as chair for this national organization. I worked really hard to turn it around. So when I took over as chair, it had a kind of a bad reputation. Membership was really low. The board at the time really didn't do much. And I just, how you just like have this intuition, like, I know what we need to do and I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to even ask permission from anybody, right? I'm just going to do it. So I started doing all these things, and in 6 years, our membership has increased like 300%. We have like almost a complete turnover of the board of all these new people who are like young and energetic and have great ideas and want to do stuff. We've introduced so many new like programs. We have a mobile app. Like, so I would say the transformation of the national organization is my biggest accomplishment for sure. And there was another question you asked and I don't remember what it was.
What proud moments do you remember in the Portuguese American community?
Proud moments. I would say the moments that I have felt most proud. One of the first that comes to mind is I actually, when I was involved in the Luso-American Fraternal Federation, I took on the role of choreographer to teach the kids the dance that they were going to do for the summer.
Yeah.
And there was one particular summer where, man, the kids just couldn't get the dance. It was really like everybody was struggling. And it was towards the end, like it was like a week before the convention where they would have to perform, and we were at practice. And I remember standing on a table so I could see like all, where they were and if they were doing it right. And they did it so perfectly. And I started crying. Like, aww. I was just so proud that they stuck it out and they worked hard and they finally got it right. So I remember that one. That was a big one. I feel like there are moments where once I got involved with the national organization, I came back and gave a speech at that convention and, got a standing ovation. And, because it's one of those things where growing up, even though we were proud to be Portuguese, I was involved in all this stuff. On a personal level, I was a very self-conscious kid, right? Like I was always kind of the fat girl, and so I had a lot of self-esteem issues. And so to have those kind of moments where people are like applauding you and, giving you respect, it meant a lot. And so that I would say, yeah, a lot of my proud moments actually come back to my role within Palcus and what I've done and things I've been able to do through that organization. So, yeah.
And I apologize. What is the name of the national organization again that you?
Yeah, it's Palcus, PALCUS, which stands for Portuguese American Leadership Council of the United States. which
Got
is
it.
why we
Got
which is why we say Palkus. It's a lot shorter.
Focus. Got it. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so to what extent do you believe being Portuguese American has shaped the way you have moved through life, both professionally and personally?
To what extent? I mean, if we're talking like percentage wise, or I mean, I think it's had a huge impact, frankly. Professionally, because it on a couple of things. It's made me more aware of that there are other cultures out there, and being able to adapt or for example, if I'm working with somebody from another country and I'm writing them an email, I know how much I appreciate it when somebody kind of throws in something Portuguese. So I'll use Google Translate, or I'll look up a phrase and I'll reply in their language, right? And that always gets a great response, right?
Yeah.
Understanding some customs, or understanding why people do things, or even just trying to understand, has made working with people in different parts of the world a little easier and more enjoyable, right? Because they don't feel like I'm this brash, arrogant American that thinks everybody else is shit, right? Like, oh no, she actually appreciates other cultures, right? So I think from a professional standpoint, that's had a big impact. And also the work ethic part. I mean, Portuguese are known for the work ethic, unless you're from the Alentejo, and then everybody says you're lazy. But I don't know that. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's the joke. But yeah, work ethic. I mean, I'm a workhorse to a fault, right? Like, yeah, if you ask my daughter what's mommy's favorite thing to do, and she'll say work, and it's kind of disheartening to hear that, but it's kind of true. So there's that. And then personally, yeah, I mean, it's who I am. Like, there's no way around it.
That.
Yeah.
I love that. That is awesome. I love that. So what does Portuguese American mean to you?
There's two answers to that, and I only have 8 minutes left, so I'll try to answer. I don't know how many more questions you have, but so for me personally, it means having the best of both worlds, right? We live in America, and it's a great place to be, tons of opportunity. It's kind of like there are so many resources. Like, if you can't make it here, I mean, yes, it's going to be hard sometimes, but there's so many resources and programs and things to take advantage of that if you really want it, then you can make it happen, right? So there's that. But then I also really love the cultural part of being Portuguese, because the food, the music, the art, all the different aspects of it, and being able to go back to Portugal and love it and appreciate it and feel at home there. Like, I have two homes, so for me, it's very much having the best of both worlds. Now, when I think Portuguese American, I think of the community, and I get a little not sad, but feel like sometimes people have that's the word I'm looking for. Like, sometimes I'm not, like, I see a group of Portuguese Americans, or I see how they're behaving, or I hear a podcast, and I'm like, that's not who I want to associate with. Like, they're either being crass, they're being disrespectful, basically they're being punks,
Okay.
And so I feel like, and I think that can actually be applied to, maybe it's a generational thing across the board, across cultures, right?
Yes.
That, you're not understanding and grasping really how important this is, or how important it is to maintain the proper pronunciation of something, the proper way to describe something, It's not a joke. It's not meant to be fodder for your act. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep. Absolutely.
And if you're representing my community to people who are not Portuguese, well, God help us, because they're just going to think that all Portuguese people are assholes, and we're not, you know what I mean? So I feel like there's this generational degradation of integrity, frankly.
Okay.
And we're really trying to raise our daughter to have integrity, right?
Absolutely.
And that comes down to some of the basic things of having manners and know your place, meaning you can have fun and be silly, but when there's other people around, you know, there are other people around. You're not the only person in the space. So be respectful of other people, you know. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to, not everybody wants to listen to your music. Not everybody wants to hear your conversation. Not everybody wants to, you know what I mean? It's like,
no, I fully agree.
You know, so there's a lot of that. And so there's a little bit of struggle, right? Because I want to be helpful and I want to provide, you know, opportunities and, hey, there's this, but if you're going to act like that, I don't want you to come and do this, you know?
Right.
So there's a
sure.
little bit of that. I think there are a lot of people in our community that are still very respectful and have integrity, but they tend to be either my age or older, right? So I'm 46. Maybe they're in their 30s, but even then I find some young 30-year-olds where I'm just like, how old are you?
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Are you 16? Like, come on, dude.
Like, you should know better.
You should know better. Yeah.
Thing.
And if you think that's funny, some people are going to think it's funny, but it's going to be a very small group of people that think it's funny, you know?
Oh, no, for sure. I'm in my early 40s, and I just had a conversation with a coworker that is 19 and had to kind of explain the same thing. Like, listen, what you think is, I'm from a different generation. I don't find it funny.
Yeah.
He thought it was okay calling me hun. I'm like, you know my name. Please do not call me hun.
No, I'm not
older.
your hun.
Yeah, I'm old enough to be your mother.
Yeah.
Please. And he tried to tell me he calls his mother hun. I'm like, as Mexican American, I greatly doubt that, but okay. But yeah, so I fully agree with you.
Oh my God. If my daughter ever came home and was like, hon, can you make me something to eat? I'd be like, I'm sorry, who? Like, who are you talking to?
Exactly. Yeah.
Hell no.
I was like, yeah. I'm like, you are full of it. You're full of it, kid. No. So yeah, he's definitely stopped calling me hun, because I'm
That's
like,
good.
do not speak to me that way.
Yeah.
So actually, you answered the last question. The last question was, how do you see the Portuguese American community today? And you just answered that. So you definitely shared that. And that was pretty much the last of it. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to share? Anything that lasting comments or anything?
You know, I wish that, you know, the other thing I would say about the community in general is I wish we had a more united and supportive mentality collectively, that, you know, that sense of a rising tide lifts all boats, not just yours, you know?
Oh, I love that.
And we just tend to be so competitive with each other, and it's to our own detriment, right? Like, if you look at the Armenian community or the Greek community or, you know, some other communities, Indian, my gosh, but, you know, Indian, there's a lot more Indians than there are Portuguese, but, you know, they support each other. Like, their accountant, their banker, their baker, their tailor, like, everybody that they go to is Portuguese, and those services make sure that their clients who are of their ethnicity get the best service, right? It's not like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times it's like a contractor will come in and like redo a kitchen. Oh, but it's a Portuguese family. So, you know, whether it's conscious or not, they either leave it unfinished or they don't do 100% good job. And it's like, because they have this idea that, well, they have to go with me because I'm Portuguese. So they're like obligated. And it's like, I'm not obligated at all. Right.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
or if there's like a restaurant, you know, oh, we're not going to go to that restaurant because I can cook better than that. Well, yeah, you probably could, but do you want to cook every night? It's kind of nice to go out to dinner once in a while, you know? So I just wish that there was a more collective sense of we will support each other. I don't even want to say unity. I want to say a collective sense of support for one another. And then I would also say tolerance, but I think the tolerance issue is nationwide. I don't think it's a Portuguese specific thing. It's like, okay, you know, I don't like who you voted for. Does that mean I'm never going to speak to you again? For some people it does, you know, and it's unfortunate.
Right. No, for sure. I agree. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really,
no problem.
appreciate it. And I apologize for the mishap earlier with Zoom and everything. So
no problem. I do have to jump because I'm actually leading the next call that has probably already started, but I'll send you the link to the recording and just let me know if you have problems downloading it.
Okay. And if you ever get a chance, if you can send me just a couple of photos that you feel comfortable so I can include them, I would greatly appreciate that.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Take
okay.
care.
Bye.
Bye.